It's hard to ignore the smash hit that is Disney Descendants. If you somehow haven't heard of it, think of it as this generation's High School Musical. But instead of the characters aspiring to be on Broadway, they aspire to take over the world. And that's because the main characters are the children of Disney villains. However, I have questions for you, Disney. Your villains don't get happily ever afters. Anybody was going on a date, it was a date with death. Yet in the Descendants series, you've shown each of your bad guys with at least one child. And they're all single parents. None of them have a partner. There's nothing wrong with that, but Disney, you do know that baby making involves two, right? Or are you canonically pairing off behind our backs? Do our favorite bad guys have love stories that you're not telling us about? I'm Arielle with Channel Frederator, and let's play matchmaker. Disney, I know you're a family company, but must I remind you, when a mommy villain and a daddy villain hate each other just a little less than they do everyone else? Oh, you know all that. Okay, good. I need to keep this video PG. Oh, come on, Disney! You can't just give all these awesome characters children and then just pretend there was never a second party involved at some point! And the most interesting thing is that in the Descendants world, all of the bad guys have been banished to a secluded island prison called the Isle of the Lost. This happened 20 years before the events of the movies, so the main kids are around 16 years old when their story begins. What this means is that the villains weren't just creating demon spawn, they were creating demon spawn with each other! So today, my friends, we're taking the teeny amount of evidence the series gives us to speculate who would be best paired with who among the Disney villains. Or at least villains that share enough chemistry to survive a single fun night together and eventually have a kid. First off, all villains are suspects. In Descendants, all characters are present, no matter what place or time they're from. Even if they're redeemed, like Iago and Cinderella's stepsister Anastasia, for example, they're here too. Doesn't matter if they died either. Apparently the ones that were dead by the end of their stories were resurrected before being banished to the Isle. Because villains living without their magic or power is a punishment worse than death. And that is the second thing, there is no magic on the Isle of the Lost. So no cop-outs. None of the kids were created asexually via a spell or something. Thirdly, suspects should really only be villains, henchmen, evil followers, or general no-gooders. There are no good guys living on the island, and due to a magical barrier locking in its inhabitants, it's not exactly easy to get in or out. Everyone follow? Now, magic mirror in my cam, who got together and started a fam? If we covered everyone, we would be here a while, so let's just look at the theories to the better-known Descendants characters and who their parents are. We'll start small and work our way up to the bigger bads. We've got our youngest descendant, Dizzy, daughter of Drizella, the evil stepsister. Where do we begin with Drizella? Well, she wanted a prince, but who would take her? Some people say she may have ended up with Prince Hans. A big reason is because of Dizzy's red hair. But while we know Drizella would date up, I don't know if Prince Hans would date down. I think she would make a great match for Sir Kay from The Sword and the Stone. He's just as mean as she is. He could certainly be on the Isle. He's a knight in shining armor. He grew up in a castle. He's a bully like her. And hey, he has the red hair too. I think they'd make a cute couple. Well, that was an easy one. Let's try Gaston. When I first found out that Gaston was a father of 3, I immediately thought of Claudette, Paulette, and Laurette, the 3 sisters that were obsessed with him in Beauty and the Beast. And I just assumed he just had one child per triplet. The girls aren't villains, but they're all crazy for him. They might have been obsessive enough to follow him to the Isle. However, when I found out that Gaston had twins, Gaston Jr. and Gaston III, I realized he might have just settled with one of the 3. We only see his son Gil on screen, and he's a bit of a ditzy blonde type. Another indicator that one of the triplets might have got with Gaston. A lot of fans have also pointed out that he wears orange, and that's important because a lot of Descendants characters wear colors related to their parents. So if anything, the lady in orange, Laurette, is our best bet. Captain Hook, he also has 3 kids. Harriet, Harry, and CJ, in that order. While brainstorming for this conspiracy, I was looking into more of the nautical ladies, like Ursula's sister Morgana or Marina Del Rey from the Little Mermaid sequels. I didn't consider Ursula because Harry Hook seems a little too close with their daughter Uma. But then, in the Disney Junior show, Jake and the Neverland Pirates, we saw Hook with a love interest. Her name is Red Jessica. The problem with her, though, is that she's not a villain. She's actually pretty chill. Therefore, she wouldn't be sent to the Isle. I don't know, she identifies as a pirate, which by definition is somebody who robs and steals, and she's interested in Captain Hook, a man who set out to kill children? Something's gotta be wrong in her head somewhere, you know? If not her, how about Jack Sparrow? Just look at Harry Hook. Yeah, I know, having a kid usually involves a man and a woman, but the Pirates movies are getting weird, man. Who at this point would be surprised if Jack Sparrow got cursed with an unwanted pregnancy? I'm just saying, Pirates of the Caribbean 6, double the semen. Semen. And then there's Ursula. See, my mind is still looking at pirates because her daughter Uma is actually a pirate captain. Who else is available that isn't Hook? Well, as far as animated movies go, there's Long John Silver from Treasure Planet. Don't think they'd get along though. Who would make sense to me would be Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. I know he had a thing going on with Calypso, but he's a pirate stuck under the sea. What can you do? The main reasoning is 1, pirate, tentacly pirate. 2, Uma is covered in barnacles like she were part of his crew. That's kind of a cool thought. Though I have one more for you. This is also promising. He's not a pirate, but what about Dr. Facilier? Not just because he shares Uma's skin color, but because he has a daughter named Freddy in the Descendants Wicked World series who looks just like her. Freddy is also voiced by the same actress who plays Uma, China Anne McClain. I really like the fan theory that they could be separated sisters or twins. Even China's sister Lauren McClain took over the voice for Freddy after China was cast as Uma in Descendants 2. So if they bring Freddy Facilier into live action, that could be a fun subplot. Alright, we're done with pirates. We're at the main 4 now. Here we have Cruella de Vil. In Descendants, she has her son Carlos. Your mind might first go towards Horace and Jasper because she's acquainted with them, but Cruella is a high-class lady. They're not exactly her type. In Wicked World, we learn in the episode Spirit Day that Carlos can apparently speak dog. He said it's because he's Cruella's son, but why would she want or need to speak dog? I started to wonder if she'd be into someone furry, like Disney's Big Bad Wolf. She loves fur so much, maybe she wants to cuddle with it. And if their relationship went south, then she might have made him into a coat. It could be why she treats her half-wolf son like a dog, and he kinda acts like one too, even though he's scared of them. Too weird for you? Well, maybe Cruella needs to find someone who understands her. There is the baddie Jean-Pierre Lepelt from 102 Dalmatians who she teamed up with. He had a lot in common with her as a fur fashion designer, and she seemed to like him enough. He might be her best match, if he were on the Isle, that is. Or my final guess? The hunter that shot Bambi's mom. Cruella would be into that. Next up, Jafar and his son Jay. Now this one is interesting. Fans actually think that Jay isn't Jafar's son at all. I mean, to start, there is no family resemblance. But the main difference that stands out is behavior. When you watch Descendants and you see Jay parkouring around the city and stealing what he can like some sort of street rat, you're not thinking of Jafar. You're thinking of Aladdin. Yep, a popular theory is that Jafar stole Aladdin's son as his one last attempt at revenge. But we have a problem. Jafar is stuck on the Isle. How would he do that? If he did manage to leave, he would have his power back. He would have freedom. He would have no reason to return. Personally, though, it makes me sad because his redemption story and Return of Jafar is a favorite of mine. To make this theory work, I think Iago could have betrayed Aladdin and stole his son for Jafar. Because according to the book, Iago is on the Isle. Like, maybe the two of them caught up after Jafar was resurrected and they came up with one last plan of revenge. As a bird, Iago might have an easier time sneaking through a barrier. I don't know, it's certainly evil, but it's not my favorite. Speaking of unforgiven redeemed characters, I was actually wondering if Sadeera from the Aladdin TV show would be on the Isle. She was a baddie for most of the series. She was a sorceress, she was an enemy of Aladdin and Jasmine, and she was a street rat. I feel like that might be enough for Jafar to have something in common with her. And also, it's someone for Jay to take after. Jafar seems a lot more humbled in Descendants, so he could have settled down with a girl like Sadeera. Why not? Now for the Evil Queen. She has her gorgeous daughter named Evie. So for the Evil Queen, we should probably seek out royalty, since I highly doubt that after being stripped of her power and status that she would let herself fall any lower. But for the sake of things, I will list the popular fan theories. There is the Huntsman, who gave her the heart of a pig and lied saying it was Snow White's, so I don't think she likes him that much. The Slave in the Magic Mirror, maybe? But there's no magic on the Isle, though. Would he be released from the mirror? How would the magic in the mirror even still work if he was taken out? Evie still uses it when she leaves the island. It's complicated, but it's not bad. There is Snow White's father, who was a king and she was actually married to once upon a time, but he would only be resurrected and put onto the Isle if he were also a bad guy, which I don't think is the case. Other royal baddies would be the Horned King, or Hades, which would make sense for Evie with all the blue. However, I've personally come to the conclusion that Evie's father could be Prince Hans. I said he would date up, he would definitely date a queen. The Evil Queen is obsessed with being young, so she would probably date young to feel young. My favorite part of this idea, though? Hans's personality is based on the mirror from the Snow Queen fairy tale, and the queen loves her mirrors. Mic drop. And finally, we'll look at the biggest, baddest baddie of them all, the queen of all evil, Maleficent, And her daughter, the star of the show, Mal. I will debunk your theories right now. It is not King Stefan, and it is not Diablo the Crow. King Stefan, Aurora's father, is not a Disney villain. I know he was in the live-action Maleficent, but these characters are based on their animated counterparts, so we're going to go with the originals. I like the idea that Diablo could turn into a human, or that he was once a human turned into a crow. They had a nice potential dynamic. But the problem with that is that in the first Descendants novel, it's described that he was still cursed as a stone statue up on Maleficent's old castle. So he was not on the Isle with Maleficent to have relations with 16 years ago. So who would Maleficent bother to spend any time with? Well, if we dig a little deeper, I came upon the House of Mouse. Surprisingly, there was an episode called Halloween with Hades, where Maleficent went on an actual date with Hades. She said to him, "I appreciate a man with a fiery disposition. It brings out the dragon in me." I don't think it worked out. She seemed skeptical by the end of the episode, but it does give us a little bit on what she could be into. Here's a pairing that I could really get into though. In the well-known House of Villains episode, she's got something going on with Chernobog. Seriously, he wraps his arm around her and goes, "Love your work." Then you could spot them hanging out together in the audience after that. I mean, that's kind of it between them, but isn't that perfect? She's got all of the powers of hell, and he's basically Satan himself. She likes men with a fiery disposition. He plays with fire. Brings out the dragon in her? She literally turns into a dragon when he flirts with her. Two of the worst, most dangerous, and evil bad guys coming together, giving birth to their precious little dragon baby Mal. I ship it so hard. Okay. I have been talking for a while. And you know what? We have only scratched the surface. But it might be best if we stopped here, because on this list we have Claudia Frollo, and I honestly really don't want to theorize how freaking Judge Claude Frollo, the pervy old guy, got a daughter. Oof. Disney, why? Disney hasn't shared squat about the parents of its famed Descendants characters. It's all fan speculation. Okay, actually there was a tiny detail that we were able to scrounge up. In the book, it is said that Mal's father is a human. Maleficent's daughter, Mal, is half human, and she strives not to be weak like her father. And it's also mentioned that he hasn't been around for a long time. So out goes the Chernobog theory I loved so much. By the way she talks about him, it honestly sounds like she got together with some nobody, like some lowly thief or some underling that we don't know about. But why? Unless there's some beautifully written, heart-wrenching backstory to this, it just doesn't seem in character for her to get intimate with somebody so far beneath her. Hey, it looks like we'll learn soon enough, because this just in, we just got a teaser for Descendants 3, and it features Mal walking through swamp or jungle-like scenery, coming across a blue light calling out her name, and she exclaims, "Dad?" Alright. To be determined. As for everybody else though, nothing. I mean, let's face it, it's a gimmick. Disney probably didn't give their parents any thought at all. I don't know, maybe they were all cursed or gifted children by the fairy godmother as a lesson or punishment. Or like, most of the kids are around the same age. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if all the villains came up with some kind of plot to have their brood rise up and avenge them. And so to kick off that plan, they all just got into this random clutter and had an organized meeting about teamwork. Anyway, this one's sort of up in the air. We may never know the answers, but we do have a one-up on Disney by actually acknowledging the birds and the bees. So, whatever. I'm gonna give this conspiracy 3 poison apples out of 5. Oh, and editor, make sure those apples are rotten to the core. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's conspiracy. It was a total blast to write. I was going to ask you who your favorite villain crack pairings are, but you know what? We've talked about them enough today. Do you know that Disney also gave Dopey a son? Yeah. His name's Doug. Please, comment below and let me know who you think went off to work with Dopey. Perhaps a hi-ho? Hi-ho? I'll see myself out. Everyone make sure to subscribe. We put out new conspiracies every Thursday. Also, don't forget to click the bell icon to become part of the notification squad. Again, my name is Arielle, also known as R2 Ninja Turtle. That's my username on all social media if you want to follow any of my personal projects. I'm probably going to draw some spiteful fan art of Chernobog as a human. It's been real, guys. Thank you ever so much for watching, and remember, Frederator loves you.